Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. I do not know what to think. Carrie has been treating me differently lately. After 22 years of marriage, you can just feel it. Maybe your spouse is saying something, or maybe it's just the way they look at you. She had been in this state for several months. Does she have any physical problems that she doesn't want to tell me about? Every time I asked her if there was a problem, she replied, "No, why do you keep asking me about it? For God's sake, I don't have any physical problems." I thought maybe she was having an affair, but that wouldn't be like her. Certainly not after 22 years of marriage. We have 3 children. Well, they were kids once. Kim is 21 years old. She got married herself and they have a child. Jordan is in his 2nd year of college and Julie will graduate soon and then go to college herself. Maybe Carrie was going through the changes I've always heard about. It really got on my nerves. I started to look at her more closely to see if anything had changed. Didn't I come up with a bunch of things in my head and then step over the edge? It's so hard to explain. I'm not a writer, so it's just hard for me to find the words. The best way to describe it is an inner feeling. Deep down, I knew something was wrong. Our sex life hasn't really changed much in the last 15 years or so. We're making love, whatever you want to call it. Either in a missionary position, or I like to take her from behind. Other times I lie on my back and she sits on top of me. It always seemed normal. Of course, it wasn't like the first few years, when all we did was make love like rabbits. That's the way life works. Almost everyone we knew seemed to have a marriage like ours. That's why I've always considered us the norm. We make love about once a month or two. From time to time, if we were excited, we would do it once a week or more often. Are we in love with each other? I've always thought so. It wasn't something we talked about a lot. Deep down, I believed that we cared about each other. We were not a storybook or a fantasy. We were real people in the real world. We both worked, paid the bills, and enjoyed our family. Just ordinary people. I noticed that when she went to work, she didn't dress differently. Even when she left work with the girls, nothing seemed to change. One day, she and her work colleague Michelle went shopping together. I decided to follow them even though I felt it was wrong. I kept my distance as they moved from store to store. Nothing seemed out of place. It was just 2 women shopping. So I went home. In the weeks that followed, I listened to phone conversations, checked emails, and just watched Carrie. She was acting strangely, but I didn't see any big differences. We did make love a little more often, but it wasn't that unusual. I was starting to feel awkward checking her out this way, but I really thought something had changed. One Saturday, when I was going to play golf, I left the house, as I do on most Saturdays. But when my golf buddies and I got to the course, it was completely occupied because of the tournaments. They decided to look at other courses, but I just decided to go home. Maybe I would have just invited Carrie to dinner or something like that because of the way I behaved towards her. When I got home, I noticed a car in our driveway. I think it belonged to her friend Michelle, but I wasn't sure. I walked in the front door and heard moaning. As I approached the bedroom, I thought about my worst fear. My wife Carrie was lying on the bed, completely naked, and Michelle's face was buried deep in her. I lost my temper and shouted, "What the hell is going on?" looking at the shocked faces of both women. Carrie looked up in complete surprise and screamed, "Oh my God, Jim! Oh my God, oh my God!" She kept repeating it. Michelle jumped up and, without saying a word, quickly put on some of her clothes and quickly left. I just stood there for a minute, looking at my wife. I didn't know what to say. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. She got up and put on a bathrobe. "Jim, please, let me explain, please." I stood there completely stunned. "You cheated on me with a woman?" "Please, Jim, I need to explain. It just happened. It wasn't love, it was just an explosion of emotions. Something else. I've never cheated on you." "What the hell are you talking about? Because it was a woman, it wasn't cheating? Just because she didn't have a male organ to shove inside you doesn't mean you haven't cheated. You took away the trust I've always had in you and just threw it away. I thought we always respected each other, but I think your respect for me was pretty shallow. Jim, we need to talk, please, you have to let me explain." "How long has this been going on, Carrie?" "Let me guess. How about 4 months?" Carrie started crying. "I wanted to tell you, Jim, I was going to—" "Damn it, stop it, Carrie. You've been making love to Michelle behind my back for 4 fucking months. What you're going to tell me doesn't mean shit. We have a family together and I thought we had a loving relationship. I guess I was wrong. The love in this relationship was one-sided. Jim, it just happened. I didn't mean for it to happen. One day, Michelle and I... Carrie, I can't talk to you right now. You disgust me too much. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm leaving and I'm going to try to collect my thoughts. If it was with a guy, at least I could beat the shit out of him before I left you. For some unholy reason, you think it's okay to make love to another woman. I'll be back in a couple of hours if I come back at all. Jim, I need to tell you. I heard her voice when I got out and got into the car. I wasn't a drinker, but I needed something stronger than coffee. I went to one of the local clubs I was a member of and tried to collect my thoughts. God, I couldn't believe it. Why would she do that? Where should I go now? I know I have to listen to what she has to say, but I knew I wouldn't be the same no matter what she said. I remember reading about 2 women doing it and how erotic it was. Well, I'm here to tell you that catching your wife with another woman is not erotic. It's sad and really painful. I returned home about 3 hours later. Carrie was dressed the way she usually dresses and made coffee. She asked if we could sit in the living room and she would tell me exactly what happened. Madness raged inside me. I was just hoping that I could listen to her, but I had my doubts. I sat down on the sofa and she came over to sit next to me. Please sit on the chair. I don't want to be around you. She was crying a little. Until today, I have always been sorry and unpleasant to see you cry. But right now, I don't give a damn about your feelings. You've hurt me terribly, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you. Jim, that's how it happened. One day when Michelle and I were shopping, we brought our new clothes and tried them on. Michelle continued to delight me with comments about my body. We went and bought some wine, and I think it eased my inhibitions. When we were trying on clothes, Michelle touched my chest. She said her breasts were so full and didn't sag at all. I don't know why, but I let her touch them. Then she started touching my body further and harder. God, it was incredible to be touched by another woman. So different from yours, Jim. So not only am I a lousy lover, but Michelle is exactly what the doctor ordered. Much better than the old husband. Please, Jim, it's not like that. It's just that a woman's touch is completely different. Didn't you feel like you were cheating on me, Carrie? Haven't you thought about me at all? Jim, I didn't feel like I was cheating. Michelle went on to tell me how men like to see 2 women together. She said her husband didn't mind at all. She's been with other women for years. Do you hear yourself, Carrie? Sleeping with another woman is not cheating. That's what you're telling me. Carrie, I saw this and my stomach twisted. My wife was a woman of easy virtue to another woman, letting her do things you didn't want me to do. Let me ask you something. If you came home and I let another man satisfy me in the ass, would it turn you on? Really, Carrie? Would that be treason or not? That's what you're telling me. The fact that you're making love to someone other than me should turn you on. Well, Carrie, big news. It makes me sick, and I don't know if I can live with it. Jim, I do not know what to say. To answer your question, no, I won't turn you on with another man, and I'll lose respect for you. Carrie, you were disrespectful to me when you went to bed with Michelle. I don't want to touch you. I've lost all the respect I've ever had for you. You see, love is more than just a bed. These are honesty, affection, trust, loyalty, and respect. You don't have any of this left for me. I do not know what to do. I'm moving into the guest room. I don't want to be in the same bed with you. Jim, you can't be serious. It wasn't that important. Are you willing to sacrifice 22 years of marriage because I slept with a woman? Jim, I didn't want to cheat on you with another man. That's why I tried something new with Michelle. Carrie, it all starts with Michelle. Now you have a taste of a new life. This is not the end of it. If you're simple for Michelle, you'll soon be simple for someone else. You've just started your new life. I'll start looking for an apartment. Please just leave me alone and stay away from me. You can explain your new lifestyle to the children. I'm sure they'll be interested to know that sleeping with a partner of the same sex is not cheating. Jim, maybe it was cheating in a way, but I didn't think about it that way. But you're overreacting. Michelle and I don't do this all the time. Maybe once a week or 2. I was just trying something new. Please try to understand. I almost feel sorry for you, Carrie. A husband with 22 years of experience doesn't mean anything to you. I can't talk to you anymore. You're making me sick. I just got up and left. Our life went on. I started sleeping in the guest room. Carrie tried to be very nice to me, but I just didn't take it in. Something inside me has disappeared. Maybe it's my pride, my ego, my self-respect. Whatever it was, I lost it. In the following weeks, I was away longer or worked longer. Anything to avoid having to go home and see Carrie. She acted like the problem with our marriage was my fault. She just went on with her life. I do not know if she went to see Michelle again because of her lesbian love affair. She stopped talking about it. I know she saw Michelle at work, but she never mentioned it to me. My life has been miserable. One day I came home half drunk and thought I'd try to make love to Carrie to show her what she was missing. I know she wasn't really interested in it, but she agreed. Something she wouldn't let me do for years. I climbed between her legs and pressed my mouth to her pussy. She started punching me in the face. Something told me she was thinking about Michelle, not me. I got up and was about to shove my organ into her when it just got soft. The thought of her and someone else, man or woman, stopped me dead. I looked at her, just got up and went to my room. Life sucks for me. On Friday, I went to the club to have a couple of drinks. I had to do something. I decided to make one last attempt. I know I still loved her. I just wasn't sure if I could live with her new lifestyle. Another conversation with Carrie. She will have a choice, her new lifestyle or me. I headed home hoping for the best. When I got there, the house was empty. Carrie wasn't there, so I headed over to Michelle's, thinking the worst. When I got to Michelle's house, I saw Carrie's car parked in the driveway. I went up to the house and knocked on the door. I was going to give Carrie an honest and fair choice. Enough of this shit. She will either stay married to me and lead a monogamous lifestyle, or she will be able to lead her lesbian or bi lifestyle without me. The choice is hers. I knocked on the door again, but there was still no answer. I walked around the back of the house. They had a pool and a fence for privacy. I opened the gate and looked into the pool. No one swam. When I entered the courtyard, I saw Carrie lying completely naked on a chaise longue, and Michelle kissing her breasts. Well, it looks like Carrie's decision has been made. They were so engrossed in their actions that they didn't even notice me. I looked at their patio door, and Michelle's husband, Roger, was standing there, completely naked and satisfying himself. Of course, he liked to look at my naked wife, who lay with her eyes closed, allowing Michelle to do whatever she wanted with her. Michelle spread my wife's legs, slid her hand down between her thighs, and began to satisfy. At that, Michelle looked at Roger. Oh my God, she was going to let Roger satisfy my wife. Michelle blocked the view so that Carrie couldn't see Roger approaching her. Roger walked slowly towards them. He had his organ ready to shove it into my wife. I couldn't let that happen. Even if she wanted it or had done it before, I wasn't going to let it happen. Not in front of me. As soon as Michelle moved her arms to allow Roger to insert his organ into Carrie, I pounced on him. I started hitting him with all my might. Carrie opened her eyes and screamed, as did Michelle. I kept hitting and hitting this man with everything I had. Then I started kicking him. I let out all the pent-up rage I had been holding in. I had a brother-in-law who was a policeman. He said it was very difficult to beat a man to death with your bare hands. I was at this stage. Roger was a bloody mess and my hand was covered in blood. I didn't know if it was my blood or Roger's. I was a maniac doing the only thing I could do. At this stage of my life, I was saving what dignity I still had. My hands are swollen. Carrie and Michelle both screamed at me to stop, and each of them grabbed my arm. I pushed them away and threw them into the pool. I started to come to my senses and kicked Roger again. Then, when Carrie shouted something at me, I ran out of the yard and headed home. I was going to go, pack my suitcase quickly, and leave home. I never wanted to see Carrie again. Yes, she was the love of my life, but I hated her. When I got home, I ran into the house and started packing my bags. The phone rang. I wasn't going to answer it. The message from Carrie was recorded on a dictaphone. Please, Jim, don't go anywhere. I'm going home. Please wait for me. I don't. I've heard enough excuses. I hurried to pack my things. I didn't want to be there when she got back. I grabbed my suitcases and headed for the door. When I went to my car, a patrol car pulled up. The officer said, Mr. Jones, you are under arrest. Please put down your bags and put your hands on the hood of the car. They handcuffed me and put me in a police car. As they drove away, I saw Carrie pull up to the driveway, watching the patrol car drive away. When we arrived at the police station, I was arrested on charges of assault and battery. Michelle must have called the police after I left. I didn't care. No perverted son of a bitch is going to be able to cuckold me. As soon as I was arrested, the police provided me with medical assistance. My hands are swollen to almost twice their normal size. I broke 2 joints and got several cuts and abrasions. The doctor said that because of the condition of my hands, it would be unpleasant for him to see what the guy I beat up looked like. What was I turning into? I've never been such a cruel person. All I wanted in life was to have my own family and a loving wife. It seems that he wanted too much. I had one phone call to make. I contacted my lawyer and talked to him. I told him that I didn't want Carrie involved, that it was between him and me. He said it was too late. Carrie has already contacted him and arranged for bail. Bob, my lawyer, said I did a really good job with Roger. I was lucky that I was only charged with assault and battery. It could have been an attempted murder. Anyway, Roger was in the hospital. He needed several stitches above his eyes, had a broken nose, several cuts and scratches, and a broken or cracked rib. He'll be recovering for a while, but he has to pull through. Bob wanted to know what made me keep beating this man up. He was thinking of pleading temporary insanity in my defense. He told me that we'll see how it goes. The next morning I was told that my deposit had been paid and that my wife was waiting for me at the entrance. I saw her sitting there in the waiting room. She was a beautiful woman, balanced, and sat there quietly, although she looked a little nervous. I asked permission to go out the back door. I didn't want to talk to Carrie. I told them not to tell her that I had left until she asked. I caught a taxi and went home. The suitcases I packed were untouched. I grabbed them, got into my car, and drove away. I found a shabby motel to spend the next few days in until I decide where I'm going to live. I contacted Bob, my lawyer, and told him where I was staying, but asked him not to give Carrie's number. I didn't want to talk to her, not now, not maybe ever. On Monday morning, the first thing I did was call work and talk to my boss. We were good friends, and Carrie had already called him and asked about me. I told him I needed to get some rest, maybe 2 weeks. He approved the day off and will record it as a vacation. He asked me to stay in touch and let him know if I need anything. I called my daughter Kim. She was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, worried about me. She said that her mother called, explained a number of things to her, and said that I had left. I didn't know how much Carrie had told Kim, so I didn't want to say much. I did tell her that I had beaten a man, and that charges had been filed against me, and that bail had been posted, and I might be in court. If she needed more information, let her ask her mother. I gave her the room where I was staying and told her that I would look for a small apartment in the next few days. I explained that her mother and I probably wouldn't be together anymore. I told her how much I love her, her brother and sister, and my feelings for them haven't changed. Over the next couple of weeks, I found a nice little apartment. That was enough for me. I didn't need anything extravagant. I went home when Carrie was at work and took most of my clothes and personal belongings. I left a note for Carrie, just telling her that I had collected my personal belongings. If she has any problems, she can contact Bob, but please don't try to contact me. Bob was my lawyer, and I conducted all my negotiations through him. I have heard from the children several times. They told me about how their lives were going, and always a little bit about Carrie. It seemed that he and Michelle were no longer friends. They were polite to each other at work, but did not communicate in the same company. They always ended our conversations by saying, "Daddy, Mommy loves you," before hanging up. I haven't filed for divorce yet. I just couldn't start the process. I thought I'd leave it up to Carrie. She was the only one who needed that freedom. Deep down, I knew that I really still loved her, but I didn't want to be made a fool of. I didn't even cancel my checking or savings accounts. Carrie was the executive secretary. Carrie earns enough money to support herself. She didn't open any credit cards and didn't take any savings. In fact, she had topped up her savings account. I gave Julie some money whenever I saw her, which didn't happen too often, and sometimes talked to her on the phone. Bob called me about a week before we were supposed to go to court. He said he had great news. All charges against me have been dropped. I asked him why they did it. They kept a tight rein on me, both in terms of imprisonment and financially. "Well, Jim," he said, "I know you don't want to hear this, but you have to thank Carrie for all the charges dropped. She told the Melchers that if they continued to press charges, she would make it clear that Roger was going to rape her when you intervened, and that she would press charges against them, and even if the charges were not confirmed, there would be rumors. It will probably cost them both their jobs, and they will probably have to move. They told her it would ruin her too if she told everything. She told them that if it would save you, she was willing to take the risk." Damn it, I thought. First of all, it was her fault that all this happened. Now I'm the bad guy here, and she's the savior. I have to admit that she did it for me. Bob gave me a letter from Carrie. "I have to give this to you, but I have no idea what's in it. She cares about you, Jim. I know you don't want to hear this, but you should at least read the letter. I took it and put it in my pocket. Maybe I'll take a look later. When I returned to my apartment, my youngest daughter, Julie, left me a message asking me to call her. So I called her on her cell phone, and when she answered, she really seemed happy. Dad, I heard that you are a free man and, according to Mom, a hero and saved her. I always knew you were special. Dad, the reason I'm calling is for Thanksgiving dinner. Kim's family will be there, as well as Jordan and his new girlfriend, whom you should meet. Can you do it, Dad? Will your mom be there, Julie? Yes, Dad, Mom will be there, but it will be at Kim's house. Please, Dad, come. We all miss you. Dad, Mom is very sorry. She didn't realize how much she hurt you. Honey, I'm going to your grandparents for Thanksgiving. Thank everyone for the invitation, but I can't see her right now. I love you, honey, and tell everyone that I love them. Does that include Mom, Dad? I couldn't answer her, so I just said goodbye and hung up. I didn't go anywhere for Thanksgiving. I didn't want to discuss my personal problems with Mom and Dad. They've aged, and it would probably just hurt them. Besides, they loved Carrie, and I knew they would tell me to just forgive her. It wasn't that easy for me. Christmas was approaching. I asked Julie to go shopping with me to buy something for everyone. We had a lot of fun. We ate at the Red Lobster and shopped at all the best stores. When we went to one store, Julie said she needed to buy something for her mom. She found some beautiful outfits that I knew Carrie would like. Julie looked at me and said, Dad, could you lend me some money so I can buy these outfits for Mom? I don't have enough. Only if you promise not to put my name on any of the gifts. You can buy whatever you want and you don't have to give me the money back. Great, thanks, Dad. She started to dial the bill. In the end, I had to transfer the money to a credit card. She bought her mom more than $500 worth of clothes. I bought gifts for everyone except Carrie. Julie looked at me and said, Dad, just so you know and don't want to feel stupid, I know Mom bought you something. So it's up to you to decide if you'll buy her anything. And healthy again. If I don't buy something for Carrie, then I'm a bad guy. I looked at Julie and said, Okay, blackmailer, what should I give her? Julie smiled and kissed me on the cheek, and then dragged me to the jewelry store. She chose a diamond necklace and showed it to me. What do you think, Dad? Doesn't that tell you something about Mom? I had to agree with the little blackmailer. The necklace had Carrie written on it. Well, Dad, yes or no? The necklace cost $450. I looked at the smiling Julie and the ridiculous $450 price tag. Okay, but that's all I buy her. How can you refuse your little girl? It's damn impossible. When we were returning home to Julie from the store, Julie asked me if I had read Carrie's letter. She asked me to please read this and said that I need to know how her mom feels. I stopped in front of the house and said, Okay, I'll read it. Are you going to help carry the packages? No, I'm not going into the house. If necessary, you can go several times. As she walked away, I looked at the panoramic window and saw Carrie looking at me. It was the first time I had seen her in months. I had to look away. I said goodbye to Julie and returned to my apartment. With nervous fingers, I opened the letter, expecting anything. Dear Jim, first of all, dear, although you may not believe it, I love you with all my heart. Yes, I know that being with Michelle betrayed your trust and the vows we made. Believe me, I didn't know her husband was there that day. I would never betray you with another man. You were my first, my only, and you will be my last. I sincerely regret everything, and if I could, I would change everything. I could come up with a lot of excuses for the lousy schedule we both have, that we weren't completely happy with our sex life, just wanted something different. But these are excuses, not reasons. I made a mistake, Jim, every time I was with her. Mistakes that I pay for every day because I destroyed the union between the two of us with something as pathetic as liberation, as well as a lie. The affair destroyed our marriage, the lie destroyed your trust, and I will forever regret it. If there is any way to fix what happened and make us whole again, I would do it. I know you hate me. I know that you don't want to look at me and that I probably disgust you. In a marriage that has lasted as long as ours, you understand your spouse, or at least you try. I know you can't forgive easily, but I hope that someday you will try. We have children together who love both of us. I also hope that one day we can enjoy them together again. Let me know when you want to see them or spend the holidays with them. But you don't want to see me, so I'll leave for that time. I love you, Jim. And from the bottom of my heart, I hope there's some way we can handle this, for you and me. Carrie. After reading this letter from Carrie, I burst into tears. God, I loved her, but I hated what she was doing. I had to think carefully about what to do next. I was so lonely lying in bed and tossing from side to side for a long time. I just couldn't sleep, got up and went to the computer. I decided to read some stories, some true life stories. There were several stories about men who were lonely during the holidays, mostly because of the death of their wives. These men were sad to lose their wives and spend the holidays alone. Some of the stories brought tears to my eyes. These stories really got me thinking. I had a wife that I loved. She wasn't dead or in a coma. She was alive and well. So if I were in the shoes of these other men, what would I wish for? Surely he would want my loving wife back. It was Friday night. I was at home crying for a woman who lived only 5 miles away. I didn't want to live my life without her. I wanted her to be by my side. I wanted to die an old man next to her. Damn, it was already midnight. I didn't care. I put the letter in my pocket and headed home to Carrie. When I got there, I looked in the window and saw that she was sitting there in a bathrobe. I knocked on the door and she stood up, wondering who it could be. She looked out from behind the curtain and saw me standing there. Carrie rushed to unlock the door and looked at me with tear-stained eyes, tears rolling down her cheeks. Jim, you came back to me. Yes, but I need an answer to one question. I picked up her letter and asked if she had written the truth. With tears streaming down her face, she replied, "That's right, every word, Jim. I love you with all my being. I have always loved you and I will always love you. I'm so sorry that I hurt you." I asked where Julie was. Carrie said she went to a friend's for the night. They were having a Christmas party and Julie wasn't going home. Carrie looked at me. "Jim, I miss you so much. Will you make love to me?" I kissed her, then turned off the light and led her into the bedroom where we made love. "Jim, come inside me. It was so long ago. Please make love to me." I was firm. The only thing I was thinking about was pleasing Carrie. I missed her so much. I slowly slid in and stayed immersed in her. I knew I couldn't hold out. I lay down on her, hugged her and kissed her. Then I lay down next to him. She looked at me. "Please don't ever leave me. I will do everything in my power to return your love, respect, and trust." I will try, and tonight we took a big step in restoring our love. I fell asleep in Carrie's arms. Right before going to bed, I was reminded of the stories I had read about loneliness. It won't happen to me. Not now, not ever, as long as Carrie is with me. We didn't talk about the last few months anymore, although I occasionally caught her staring absently, sometimes pensive, sometimes pained, sometimes dreamy. The main thing is that we looked forward to our life together. We never took each other for granted anymore. Last thought, she loved the necklace I gave her.